Okay, we are going to make a start, and we are going to welcome the little Rooted Tea group when they finally make it down from Lewis and Abby's house. This is a talkback session. There's quite a lot of a download. I'll try and make it as interactive as I can, but there's quite a few things to sort of get across. So, and I don't want to spend too much time here this evening for your sakes. So we shall see how it goes. But we are first going to read a couple of verses from Philippians 4, and then I'm going to pray, and then we're going to get into it. Welcome, Rooted Tea crew. You are most welcome. I could do with a mic runner in a minute. Who wants to be a mic runner? Ben? Okay, you've got to be really quick and find people with one-word answers before they've said their one word. Okay, here we go. Not with the mic running, but with the praying part. Philippians 4. Whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any moral excellence, and if there is anything praiseworthy, dwell on these things. That is a fantastic verse, isn't it? And it kind of comes over a little bit differently in the New Translation. Just those list of things that really get you going. If there is any moral excellence, and if there's anything praiseworthy, dwell on these things. Hopefully, we're doing something useful, dwelling on something useful this evening, but also in terms of analyzing loads of things, but including our use of artificial intelligence, it is a useful criteria to say, is it honorable, is it just, is it pure, is it lovely, is it commendable, is there any moral excellence in it? Is there anything good about it? So, that's what we need to think about. And then he says, do what you have learned and received and heard from me and seen in me, and the God of peace will be with you. Let's pray. Lord, we ask that this evening you would help us to dwell on those things which are excellent, those things which are commendable, that are praiseworthy, and that we would do that in honor of you, and that as we do that, you would grant us your peace. So help us this evening in our thoughts and deliberations, we pray, for Jesus' sake. Amen. Okay, so the title of tonight is Artificial Intelligence, Creative Genius, or Evil Gremlin. What should Christians do about the proliferation of AI tools being used by them and on them? So I want an instant read. This is your moment, Ben. An instant read. So if I was just to say, let's scrap the seminar, I just want your opinion in one sentence on what you think a Christian view of artificial intelligence should be, or is. Give us a sentence. What are you laughing? Pete has an answer as well, Ben, so you went wrong, misjudged that.
Be very afraid.
Be very afraid is a Christian view of AI, okay? There's no wrong answers. But that might have been. No, of course it wasn't.
It's a tool and can be used for good or for bad.
Oh, we're going to think about that. Is it just a tool that can be used for good or for bad? That's a great answer, though. I was hoping for that one. Any other thoughts? These are just like out of the box, just like top of your head without even thinking about it.
Some of the ethics aren't always thought through and worked through.
Some of the ethics aren't always thought through. Yeah? Okay. Do you want to, without looking at the handout, give me a definition of AI? Just save a bit of time, give you it. So, I need the clicker to be clicking. It's not clicking at the minute. I might be not on. Might be not live. Might be not something. There we go. Thank you very much. Right. So here's the definition. I'd like you to memorize it. and then I'm going to blank the screen, and then you can tell me what it is. Okay, somebody laughed. The ability of computer systems to perform tasks that typically require human intelligence, like learning, problem solving, understanding language, and decision making, often using machine learning to find patterns in data and to generate outputs that appear original, intelligent, and creative. So it's to do with computer systems looking like, sounding like, acting like intelligent, creative beings. Anyone want to guess the year that the term AI was coined? When did someone think of the phrase artificial intelligence, AI? Quick guess, anybody? No microphone needed. 1950? It wasn't Alan Turing. It was coined in 1955 at the Dartmouth conference, but you may know better. But from what my research was, there was in 1955, before many of us were born, even my brother, there was, I'm just stating facts, there was this conference where they were thinking, even then, about whether machines could be made to reason like humans. So, doesn't need a mic for this, but quick shout out. Any applications, AI applications that you know? Just, yes? Data analysis and insight. ChatGPT is an AI tool. Yes? Sorry? What? Copilot from Microsoft. Did I tell you the funny story about Copilot? That I was doing one of the John series sermons, and I wrote John 6, 1 to 20. Did I tell people this? Anyway, I wrote John 6, 1 to 20 in PowerPoint, and on the right-hand side, it gave me a whole sermon outline and set of PowerPoint slides. And I used them, and you all thought, no, I didn't. It was actually terrible because it made a terrible mistake about theological mistake. But anyway, that was beside the point. It was just quite scary, the speed at which it was producing it on the right. But yeah, Copilot is another one. That was Copilot that did that, yeah. Oh, DeepSeek might be. I haven't heard of that. Perplexity, yes. What does that do? Is that for schools? Okay. Anyone heard of Claude? Yeah, Claude is one. It sounds kind of friendly, doesn't it, Claude? They do, yeah. I had a little look at how many there were, and there's some repeats on all of this, but it just shows you how widespread AI tools are. Obviously, lots of them are, some of them are ones you'd instantly recognize as Wi-Fi tools, as AI tools, but some you just kind of say, well, that's Adobe, that's kind of just a bit of an add-on to it or something like that. But there are so many branded AI tools or existing tools that were already there, but then started kind of having an AI version of the same tool. So there are loads. And I have used every single one of those. Here are some applications. Answering questions. They could be about history. They could be about science. They could be about theology. They could be about when was the term artificial intelligence first coined. That could be a Google search. That could be an AI search. There's a subtle difference, but they can answer questions like that. Probably when you're thinking more about AI, you're probably thinking about generative AI. You can get that if you want. Feel free. Wouldn't like to see it go to waste. So generating text, generating ideas, generating graphics, pictures, or generating software. So there's that. It could be generating sermons, aiding Bible study, translating video, creating voiceovers, creating prayers and counseling, answering theological questions. How do you explain the paradox of evil? AI has the answer for those things. Diagnosing illnesses, the algorithms behind social media, really AI type of tools. Banking, credit checking. So rather than someone kind of looking at all the data about your credit history, having a tool that kind of looks at it and says, you deserve that loan, you don't deserve that loan. There's a red flag by this person, there isn't. Scanning and summarizing contracts, it can do. So you get a 10-page contract and you say, what are the risks of this contract? And you put it in the machine and it comes out and says, there's 3 risks in here. You could get sued for this, or you could lose a lot of money on this. Education, training people using AI tools, evaluating. So instead of a human being marking your GCSE or A-level or institution exams where you want to become a chartered something or other, getting an AI tool to read your paper that you've typed into it and to give you a pass or a fail. Chatbots for company, a little friendly chatbot, the electronic teddy bear, blow-up doll, for entertainment, for inappropriate images, for pornography. Policing, so using AI to scan big crowds of people. It's being used a lot. And look at all the faces, work out either from a database, which is not quite so sinister. You know, if there's a character you're looking for, you know, there's a wanted criminal, you'd quite like some scanning systems to maybe find that criminal, wouldn't you? But what about AI software that's looking at the way I'm walking and the way I'm looking, and from that, deciding we should arrest him, we should stop him. There's a famous case recently of someone in Sainsbury's who was ejected from the shop using an AI tool that said they looked a bit sinister, and there was nothing wrong with them at all. So there's that. So that's some of the applications. It's not without cost. Oh, sorry, that's about generative AI. That's just a very fancy scientific way of saying you got the data in, which is basically for an AI tool to know anything. Let's use the word know, although it's not quite the word. It's got to scan it off the internet. So if you know something in your head, but you've never written it down and you've never told the internet, AI will never know. If you actually like custard, which is a small majority of you, or a small minority of you, I reckon. Who likes custard here? Oh, lots of you. Okay. Okay. If you've never told AI that you like custard, it doesn't know. If the internet has never learned that you like custard, it couldn't possibly know when it's trying to sort of, you know, offer me things on the internet. But if you have a device at home listening, like a little Dalek of some sort, then it probably does know you like custard because you probably said it in the kitchen once. I've got a little Echo in my, kitchen, that's the word. And, you know, an Alexa thing. And it's constantly like flashing. Have you got one that's always flashing, kind of listening to you all the time and thinking there's a whole load of conversations? And it must find them so interesting in my kitchen because I'm clearly that interesting. But if I said I like custard, it would know. But apart from that, if you hadn't told anyone, it wouldn't know. Okay, so that's the process. You get loads of input, it goes through a bit of a process, you try and create some guardrails, and then you have an output which is often inefficient and incorrect and all that. AI is not without cost. It's a phenomenal user of electricity, like unbelievable amounts of electricity and water that it uses. A single AI image will generate 1 gram of carbon dioxide and consume 3 watts of electricity. But might not seem much, but there's millions of them happening all the time. Worldwide water consumption from AI is about to double, from 560 billion litres in 2023 to 1.2 trillion litres by 2030. Now, to try and scale it, because you can say, well, that's a really big number, but then there's a lot of people in the world. It's about the world's consumption from about 5 million households. So you could say, well, it's not a lot of water, but it is quite a lot of water that's needed. It's not a trivial amount of water, and then the power that goes with it as well. So that's the kind of environmental, physical cost of AI, because you need loads and loads and loads and loads of computers sitting there, scraping the internet, stealing loads of data, and then creating these models from just averaging out the view of everybody in the world who's ever put anything on the internet and deciding what to do with it. So you need loads and loads and loads of computing power. So you need big data centers with lots of electricity and lots of water. So there's that cost, but there's the human cost as well. because you need to cool them down. You need lots of cooling. Lots of cooling of hot computers. Data center. I kind of liked it because it's kind of, that's the water going around it, and it's obviously whatever the word is, representative. It's representative rather than actually what happens. It's just the general idea. I can't remember. I scraped it off the internet somewhere. So yeah. Then there's it's the data centers. Data centers now, even serving the internet, use loads of water. But because you need lots and lots more powerful computers, you need lots and lots more water. There's the human cost. Deep fake images. People losing the ability to relate. There's a little survey done. Whoops, is that the one? No, I haven't got that survey. There was a survey done in America where about simple case was half the people surveyed thought AI was going to make it more difficult to relate to other people. They were worried that AI would mean that kind of nothing is sacred, that nothing is preserved, that their image is subject to any kind of manipulation, that their data is kind of available and can be misused against them. So there's obviously kind of worries about it. Okay, what I'm going to get you to do for a minute is just stand back from all that, because you could think, oh, there's all these applications, and either it's brilliant or it's terrible, or it all depends how you use it. But let's just stand back for a minute and just think about technology in general, about whether it's neutral. So have a look, get a Bible in front of you, near you, and have a look at Genesis 1:28 to 30, and then Genesis 2:15, and Genesis 4:19 to 22. So this is a little small group moment. If you haven't got a Bible, Charlie will get you one. Anyone need a Bible? 2, 3, 4. Have a look at those texts, and tell me, what does it say about what it is to be a human? And what does it say about technology? What is it to be a human? What does it tell us about technology? What is it to be a human? What does it tell us about technology? Have a look at those texts. More familiar. Genesis 4 will definitely help you with technology. Got any answers yet? We will need to commit. You sound like, in the little bit snippets I'm hearing, like you're having really good conversations. So I feel terrible kind of stopping them because they seem like they're more useful than anything I'm going to say. But I am down to say something, so I better say it. So, first of all, what does Genesis 1 tell us about what it is to be human, the kind of fundamental bit? It was in verse 26, but you kind of know it. So what does it tell us about being human? And then the next few verses in Genesis 1 kind of talk more about the purpose of being human. So what are we as humans? How are we made? What are we made like? We're made in God's image. Flashy people say Imago Dei because it sounds like, good. But anyway, made in God's image. And you can think about God's image in lots of different ways. You could say we're made in God's image because we have moral agency, determine right and wrong. We operate in a world where there is truth and there is such a thing as reality. We're made in God's image in that we kind of exercise freedom as God does. We're made in God's image in that we are creative. So you can think about all of those things. Or you could think we're made in God's image in the sense that we do stuff on the earth, which we'll think about in a sec, to do with technology. Sometimes people think about God's image in that sense. We've been given the role of being co-regents, vice-regents, on behalf of God, so ruling the earth on his behalf. Or you could think about the image of God means we're relational. All those things are true, I think. The things at the top, which are more to do with sort of character, and the things here to do with what we do and the fact that we're relational. So that's us made in the image of God. Now, how does that relate to technology? What did Genesis teach you about technology? Anyone want to shout out? Ben is going to run if you have a bit more of a description about what does those first few verses, what was said to Adam and Eve, that little interesting bit in Genesis 4, what does that tell you about technology? Go for it.
He gave everything the breath of life, and I don't think that includes technology.
Yes, he gave everything the breath of life. That includes technology, that includes all the materials. Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
No, I said I don't think it does.
It doesn't include technology.
Well, I don't think so.
I think it's there.
No,
I'm okay with that.
Because he just listed, all of the, trees and, all the food for them and all the things he's given them.
Yes.
He listed it. And
Where does technology come from?
humans?
Pardon?
Humans?
Yeah. How our brains combining with what? All those things that you listed. So it wasn't quite the answer I was expecting, but I was trying to be encouraging by saying, yes, he made technology as well, in the sense that he gives us all the elements. So if you think about, a lump of wood that you can make a boat out of it, God gives the raw materials, and God gives the creative skill, and we make a boat. So in that sense, God combines with us, made in his image, creating boats. Did you want to say more?
But I was speaking about AI. That doesn't really have the breath of life in it, does it?
No, that is an excellent point.
I think that was your main point.
I am so sorry, I didn't quite grab that.
Okay.
But thank you, that's an excellent point. That AI, a piece of technology, however seemingly intelligent, does not have the breath of life in it. Yeah. So if you take a dumb piece of technology like a boat carved out of wood, no one thinks that's got the breath of life in it. If you take a load of electrons moving around in a computer that looks as though it's got intelligence in it, you might think it has the breath of life. It's a very profound, helpful thing you've just drawn us into, and we're going to go back to that later on. Thank you. Other points about technology? What does it teach us about technology?
We were clutching at some straws over here. Basically, that yes, everything was there, but that God made us creative to be able to think about stuff to make it. That was the bit in the chapter 4, was talking about all the stuff that you use to then make the stuff that made music or did other stuff.
Yes.
That was.
What kind of categories of things are in there, in that bit in Genesis 4?
Music.
Yeah.
Tools.
Yeah.
Herdsmen.
Yeah. So,
animals.
Yeah, sure. So you got kind of animal stuff, you got all the creative industries, and then you've got, they're not all there, obviously, and then you've got making tools. So the assumption is, even though it's after the fall, the assumption is those kind of three categories are okay. Isn't that the assumption? That they're sort of okay, but there's more to say. Nick wants to say something?
I think I'd say they're more than okay. I would say that they are essential to us fulfilling God's purpose for us.
Yes.
If we're going to subdue the earth, if Adam was to work the ground, okay, you start digging with his fingers, but you're soon going to start using a tool to do it more efficiently.
Yes.
I think they are more of an aid to actually us fulfilling our purpose.
They are us fulfilling our purpose. Or they're partly us fulfilling our purpose. They're more than just an aid.
They're essential to it.
Essential, yeah. Thank you. Really helpful. Pete, did you want to add something?
Yeah, it was just there was a creative element to it as well. So they're making tools, but they're also making things to be fulfilling and not just working. So the creative element is there.
Yeah, brilliant. So where you land with all of that, sorry, Stephen, you want to say something?
Yeah, well, I need the microphone.
It's on the way, look, there it is.
Thank you. Thanks, Ben. Benji boy. Okay, we live in a fallen world.
Yes.
Everybody has an ulterior motive. And where it can be used for bad, somebody will find a way. So I think when we are assessing whether or not it's a good thing or a bad thing, we have to be aware that there are people who would go to the ends of the earth to use it for their own ends, which aren't necessarily good.
Okay. So, Emily? Run to Emily. Fast as you can. Yeah, I did want to move on, but it's okay.
I was just going to say, oh, sorry, this is quite loud.
Still good.
I think also the assumption that it's a neutral tool in any way is kind of, it's not true, right? Like the idea that in some way AI exists as this kind of separate to humanity center base of intelligence, like that's not how it works at a technological level. It's it's text prediction, essentially, if we're talking about large language models. Mm-hmm. But in that, you also get inherent biases because people have made it and it's trained off of people. And so it will always favor like a Western perspective, for example. It will probably, it will talk in a certain way. Like you see that with the fact that it uses the word goblin all the time, right? Or or whatever that word is, or that it uses like long dashes. Like it's full of bias, and it's also not publicly owned. It's free. But I think you kind of also have to think about who owns this data, who's in control of these systems, who is kind of using them, who benefits from them ultimately. A lot of that is billionaires. A lot of that is people like Sam Altman and Alex Karp, who have explicitly said that they kind of want the end of humanity, or that they only really care about profit. I think this assumption or this kind of discussion that it's this neutral entity separate from who we are, or separate from sin, or separate from sinful people, and isn't benefiting them, or at some point could evolve to put them in even more power, is, I think like it's just being careful as well, like to not apoliticize it, because I think it is inevitably that, I guess.
Okay, that was a lot. That was really helpful. Thank you very much. What I wanted to land on that you really grasp is that the elements from which we make technology, I think it's reasonable to say they are neutral. The elements from which we make technology are neutral. Us made in the image of God are there to fulfill God's plan by using the elements of the world, whether it's the animal kingdom or our own creative power or materials to make tools. We are fulfilling God's plan for us in doing that. Once you start to create a piece of technology, it doesn't then remain necessarily neutral. Let me try and give you a diagram that might help you with that, with 3 really simple points. We make some technology. So technology applications are about purposes shaped by us. So you've already got a question. Is the thing I'm purposing, is it a good thing? So that looks like an axe of some sort. It could be for cutting down a tree. Could be for chopping someone's head off, couldn't it? So there's a purpose for which you create technology. So already there, you've got the potential for sin, haven't you? Just in the thing that's created. What happens then, though, is that technology then shapes our behavior. So we shape technology, but then technology shapes our behavior. And I could give you sort of lots of examples, but just think of a really simple one, a spade or a shovel. So generally speaking, a shovel is created for a good purpose, isn't it? For digging. So generally speaking, it's created for a good purpose. So it's a good example of something you say, at a sort of high level, this is a neutral piece of technology leaning towards a positive piece of technology because it makes it easier to dig gardens. So that's a shovel. Now, of course, you can get hold of a shovel and sadly whack someone over the head with it and kill them. So it can be misused, but its general stated purpose and its design is towards a good purpose. Yeah? You all agree that? Take a spear, not a shovel, a spear, pointy thing that's designed to fly through the air and kill people. It doesn't really have an agricultural purpose, does it? You know, you might use it as a seed drill or something, but that's a bit silly. You know, that's not generally what you're using it for. So it's not then neutral, is it? You could say, here's a piece of technology. It's a spear. It's neutral. You know, I could use it for a good purpose, you know, making little holes in the ground for putting pea seeds in, or I could throw it at somebody and kill them. Generally, that technology is designed towards something that's not good. So what we've got to think about to do with technology is, okay, what purpose was it shaped by? How is it then shaping our behavior? So in other words, why was it made? And what is it then making of me? So that's a really big question. And then connected with that is the particular technology when it comes to AI replacing my God-given kind of arbitration, deciding about technology applications and thinking about my behavior and asking those kind of questions? Is it taking actually away my role as someone made in God's image? Any instant comments on that or any questions on that? Because that's pretty fundamental about technology. The elements are neutral, how we use it. So once we start to shape it into a piece of technology, it becomes less neutral. Yes?
I think that's the point, isn't it? In terms of what does it mean for us as Christians longer term about what our purpose is linked to those passages in Genesis? Because all my knowledge is mainly gleaned from somebody who works in AI, so I quiz them a lot around longer term. If you've got agents who learn about you and then interact with other and so for example, given you want shopping or you want to buy clothes, they know exactly what suits you, they go out and they link in with all the other AI agents that sell clothes, and and they literally order it and you don't have to do anything.
No.
So you're making people potentially redundant and you don't have to do anything that's an example of clothes. So in terms of, I think for me, the question is like longer term, what does that do to human beings' purpose? And that, like what you were saying in terms of spiritually.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's really helpful. That is what I'm saying. If you think about AI, it has a specific purpose. So thinking about our kind of shovel and spear, it has a purpose not just to replicate mechanical, repetitive. Were you going to say something just now? Why don't you say it? Because my flow can always restart, but yours might be lost in a moment. Go for it.
With the tool thing, surely, like, no matter how it's designed, it's like a reflection of like the person's purpose for it.
Absolutely.
Like,
yes.
With like a knife, you could either use it to like make food or like make food to like eat.
Yes.
Or you could like hurt someone with it.
Yes,
so
indeed.
It's like reflecting what their purpose is with it.
Yes, it does reflect their purpose.
It shows, and like kind of shows something about someone and the way they use it. I don't know.
Yes, and when it comes to AI, there's really big questions about what is the purpose. Is it a good purpose, or is it a bad purpose, primarily? I'm not saying I have the answer to that question, but with a knife, it's more straightforward. You kind of know knives have lots of good purposes, but even though they can be misused.
With AI, I'm not saying like if it's like ultimately bad or good. It's like the person, how they use it. Like, yeah,
the trouble is with that is that how they use it suggests there's this neutral bit of technology over here that you can use for good or bad. It's not. Once you've created a tool, it becomes more like the spear or the shovel. So it's not just how you use it. Is AI more like a spear designed to cause damage, or is it more like a shovel designed to cause good? Is a good question. But yeah, keep going. I'm gonna push on a little bit just so I make progress. But come back on some more in a minute if you want. AI has this specific purpose to replicate not just mechanical tasks, like factories replaced sort of human beings, putting bolts onto cars or whatever, or even complex tasks like calculators replaced, us having to do standard deviation or find the square root of 93, something like that. Don't start thinking about that. I'm now thinking about that. Yes, Linda is as well. Yeah, to the nearest 2 decimal places, please. It's not like that. That's just replacing a mechanical or repetitive task. It's or just a complex task. It's trying to replace human intelligence and personality often. Not in all cases, but often. And it's something that, because of that, we've never seen. Now, more than that, much of IT is designed, not much of IT, some areas of IT, much of IT was too much of a generalism. Some areas of IT is deliberately designed to cause addiction or moral corruption or just plain laziness. So we have to ask the question, why was this piece of technology made, and what is it making of me? I'm going to whiz through a few areas where we kind of pull all these things together, and then the diagram that's going to come up is going to look complicated by the time it's finished, but it's really quite easy, which is saying, okay, we've worked out technology in its very, very basic form is neutral, but once we start shaping tools, it becomes not neutral. It becomes leaning towards doing good or leaning towards not doing good. And AI in particular has a tendency to not be doing good just because it's replacing human moral agency, human creativity, human work. So it already kind of has a red flag about, well, what is it doing? And let's just think about a few areas where we can think about which way is AI nudging you. So is artificial intelligence, this is a question you need to ask about, the bit of technology you're using, is it leading you towards idolatry, worshipping the technology, and is it allowing you to be the image of God? Is it allowing you to fulfill your God-given role as all those characteristics of God, but also the dignity of work and creativity and relationships? So is it leading you more towards some form of idolatry, in that you're the idolatry of laziness or the idolatry of worshipping sex, because AI is a way of creating images that can satisfy you in that way? Or is it that it's helping you kind of worship yourself in some way, or you worship the technology itself and you use that as your ultimate authority? So what is it doing for you in terms of idolatry? Second thing is embodied relationships. We are made in God's image for embodied relationships. And AI creates pseudo-relationships, doesn't it, with chatbots and robots. Even in the last 6 months, it's kind of got worse in the sense that AI tools that appear naturally on Google searches and other searches start to try and have a conversation with you, even if you just ask a simple question. Ask you, can you give me a bit more detail? Or even if you ask a question about how are you today, it will give you an answer. Even just the generalized kind of search tools. So what it's doing is it's amplifying your desire for relationships, but often taking them away from embodied human relationships into areas where there are no moral boundaries, and nudge you not towards virtues such as empathy and love and respect, but more towards discord for real humans and a desire for a relationship with something that will not challenge you, but will only affirm you and satisfy you. It really raises a question about what it is to be human. You know, the first time, Siri or someone kind of answered a question, or you asked it to tell a joke and it told you a joke, it was kind of fun, wasn't it? But, after the kind of 100th time, you think, am I starting to think this actually exists as a human? And then it makes you think, what is a human? If you don't have God in your life, if you don't believe in the Creator God, then there's actually no objection to saying, well, if computers got powerful enough, that they would be as good as a human, and maybe better. Because if we're just a bunch of cells put together operating like a machine, if that's all we are, then in a sense we can try and control AI, but actually it's just the same as us. And that's where a lot of thinking is going, a lot of kind of high-level thinking, academic thinking is going towards transhumanism, as it's called. And the thought that our brain is just like a big supercomputer. And if you get enough data centers with enough water and electricity, you'll eventually get something that's as good as our brain. And why not relate to that? Just a few others quickly. Truth and reality. There's fundamental to who we are as human beings made in God's image is to value truth. And there's a big question to do with AI as to whether it's helping you to know truth or reality, or whether it's creating a false reality, not truth. And that's kind of in lots of areas. I'm trying to spin on because I want to get through a little bit more. The other areas in terms of moral agency. So there's two areas to think about to do with AI and moral agency. One is if you offload moral choices to AI based on some kind of statistical model, we're losing what God has given us, which is moral agency, the ability to make moral choices. Worse than that, you're also with the way the tools reward attention will make the tools show you things, give you things that tend to keep your attention. And often that is morally unhelpful, to say the least, and makes changes on the brain and takes away your moral agency. And artificial intelligence, as we know, can be used to create pornography seemingly without responsibility. You're not actually having an affair with somebody, so you think no animals were harmed during the filming of this movie, you could say. And it leads you to think that this is now kind of a morally neutral thing that's going on, that I'm watching or that I've created. It's removing my moral agency, the option to create inappropriate images of people. And this has been around for a long time, and obviously the option of watching what's not morally neutral sexual content has been around for a long time with the internet, but the ability and the speed and the rapidity of creating that with seemingly no moral consequences is part of the challenge. Okay, cognition and creativity, there's the potential that AI is offloading brain development, skills and creativity. And then connected with that is the dignity of work. So you could say, I can get AI to create a piece of music. And in a sense, you can still create that piece of music yourself, but you've got AI to create a piece of music for you. If everybody does that, then humans eventually lose the ability to create music or to do a whole load of other tasks that you might give to AI. And that ability, when lost, is very difficult for a population to regain, isn't it? Now, technology always changes things like that. So my grandfather could ride a horse. My father could ride a horse. I could just about ride a horse. I don't think my kids can ride horses. So technology came along, and it's not like I was around when there was no cars, just to be clear on that. I did have a car when I was 17, and it was a combustion engine one, and it had a roof and everything. But we're not that worried about kind of losing the ability to ride horses, are we? We kind of accept the technology maybe changes things, and we lose some abilities. If you lose the ability to create, or you lose a core competency, or you lose moral agency, or you just have nothing to do and you have an idle of leisure, that is a significant trade-off to say, okay, what's this technology leading towards? And then there's issues of freedom and privacy. I had a statistic, but it's a few months old now. In England and Wales, do you know the police have scanned the faces of over 7 million people and used facial recognition? And there's a whole load of issues to do with freedom and privacy. Just as a by the way, there's going to be a social media ban from under 16s, which sounds brilliant, sounds a great idea at one level. But do you know what it means? It means that everyone over 16 will have to give quite a lot of personal data in order to verify that they're over 16. So you've got maybe a good thing over here to do with kids, maybe another thing. Everyone plus 16 who wants to be on social media will have to give away lots of data, which is then out there. Now, you could say, well, it's out there anyway, but give away quite a lot of data on you personally, which lots of tools can scrape and do stuff with. So there's all kinds of issues to do with that. So what I'd like to help you to think about as we kind of finish is when you take those things, ask the question whether AI is leading to what you might call more virtue in those areas, or is it leading towards more vice? So I don't want you to actually go away and to think AI is just terrible because of all those things that Graham talked about, and we should never use any of it. But I think a really, really simple thing to ask is, in any of those areas, is it leading me, for example, to do with idolatry? Is it leading me to worship God more? Is it giving me more love and patience? Is it actually upholding justice? Is it leading me to more self-control, to more reason, to more courage and diligence and industriousness and generosity? So is this AI tool helping me with any of those things? Or is it actually for either the way I'm using it or the way the tool was specifically designed, is it leading me more towards worshipping myself, hating, mistrusting, lusting? Is it leading me to deceive people, ignorance, foolishness, intelligence, that's in the wrong place, dependency and sloth, and manipulation and unfairness? And you might say that's a really complicated diagram, but it's pretty simple to take a bit of AI you're using and saying, why was this designed? Is it, generally speaking, leading me towards being more productive, more useful, more helpful, more worshipful of God, more honest? Is it leading me towards those things, or is it leading me to be more idolatrous, more lustful, more ignorant, giving away skills, being lazy, and those things? I think it's a really helpful way of thinking about it, because this is not a binary. You don't have the choice about whether to use AI in some form or other, because it's all over the place. So the choice is kind of what bits of AI do you use, and how then do you use it, if you use it at all. Just one other thing kind of related to that, which is even simpler, which is what I've called a spectrum of risk. There's a guy who I work with in Affinity who created a lot of these ideas. He's called Jeremy Peckham. So if you want to look up some stuff by him, there's loads and loads of stuff on it. But this, I thought, was a really simple model for saying, over here, if a tool is assisting you doing something that you could basically do and you'll still be able to do, then it's pretty low risk, isn't it? If it's all the way over here, when it's it's kind of personifying, it's kind of being a human, it's actually completely replacing everything about me, my moral agency, my creativity, my work. It's completely replacing what it is to be human. Then that's at the highest risk level, isn't it? It's another way of looking at it. So you either look at it in terms of, is it leading me towards virtue or vice, or is it more, is it a higher risk thing I'm doing, or is it a lower risk thing I'm doing? Okay, I think I've finished. I could say a load more, but it's a time for a few questions just in the last few minutes remaining, or a few comments. I'd love to know whether you found that kind of idea of vice and virtue helpful. You don't have to say it just to me, or whether you don't understand it or anything.
I was listening to something earlier this week, one of the Dragon's Den guys.
Yeah.
And he was using AI to do various things, work-related. Yeah. And then it turned around to him and said, "You're tired, go to bed." That's disturbing. They are trying to build neural networks, i.e. they're trying to copy our brains as they develop these Claude 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever it is. They're moving at such a pace, and they're trying to copy what the human brain does. That's a bit disturbing, I find. And
it is.
Is that anti-God, or is it? I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there because I find it a bit worrying. Yeah.
The purpose of tonight was not to condemn, because probably all three of my children, but the two of my children who work in engineering use AI tools all the time. I'm sure Pete uses AI tools. Talking to Josh, who created the videos for us, he uses AI tools all the time. I would say they're not losing moral agency in that process, and they're not particularly losing creativity. So the purpose of talking about it tonight was not to say you must keep completely away from it, but you must think, what is it doing to me? Particularly, how is it shaping me? You can't just sort of blanket, it sounds a bit human, so it must be wrong. It's kind of thinking, okay, where is this technology going? What is it seeking to do? Is it seeking to replace what it is to be human? Is it seeking to replace moral responsibility? Is it generally leading me towards more depravity as opposed to less depravity? Not that less depravity is all right, but you know what I mean. Towards depravity or towards holiness. And we're going to go, Lewis, because you're slightly ahead of Graham.
I'll try and keep it quick. I'd be interested to know whether you've read anything on sort of the spirituality of AI users, if that makes sense. I don't know whether there's anything been published on this, but I think I listened to something, it might be on like Speak Life podcast, about how the question of does AI replace people's need for God in a secular culture where basically, if you have for example, if you have a massive question, like, should I marry this person? Or I've been given like a few £1,000s inheritance, what should I do with it? People are quicker to like type that into ChatGPT to find like a meaningful answer as opposed to looking in scripture or praying. Have you seen anything on that? Or
I don't know whether I'd call it spirituality, but in terms of authority and relationship, definitely. So if your authority is the average of in the internet, which is basically what AI is giving you, the average of the internet view on a topic, then it becomes in that sense a God to you, because God is the ultimate authority, as we were thinking about this morning, and Jesus, weren't we? So God is the ultimate authority. If a search on Gemini or ChatGPT is the ultimate authority, it's becoming God in that sense. Whether it's giving you a piece of information or whether it's giving you a sort of potential choice, like, should I marry this person? They've got, childbearing hips or whatever, and they'll take a sort of series of criteria and say, okay, on that basis it's worth marrying them. Give me some more data and I'll tell you whether it's worth marrying them. Have they been known to bring cups of tea in the morning, or whatever it is? There'll be some criteria, so they become the authority. On relationships, which is kind of related to God as well, there's lots of stuff on replacing human relationships and, of course, replacing God relationship as well. Our godly desire for relationship being fulfilled by, in a sense, a devilish creation who is unlikely to challenge us morally, unless you sort of purposely build in, and then what morality is built into them. So that's what we're thinking about. Just going to go to Graham, so we don't run out of time entirely. This Graham. Well, there aren't any other Grahams apart from this one. This person.
Thanks. We're told by some people that AI is kind of like the third wave of modern technological advancement or change.
Yeah.
So if you take the Industrial Revolution and then computerization as being the first two. I was just interested to get your thoughts on the effects that these changes have on the church, not necessarily on us as individually as Christians. So the Industrial Revolution arguably brought many positive changes for the church. It enabled us to engage in world mission in a way that we couldn't. Churches sprang up in city centres. They grew much larger than rural churches. The computerization, the internet, has, I think, been quite positive. And you could argue that, of course, because the church will triumph through Christ, that AI will have some kind of, we'll be able to look back and see how God has grown the church either through it or despite it. But what changes do you think AI is going to bring to the church, and what challenges do you think we need to prepare for? So just an example, one of the issues that we've talked about, just briefly touched on, is the way that it replaces people in work.
Yeah.
And so people are asking, what is the world of work going to look like in 10 years? There's a lot of doom and gloom about that, and I think it's justified from the way that we're currently headed. What effect is that going to have on our model of church in 20 years, in 30 years, when perhaps many people in a congregation are actually going to be out of work, possibly their whole lives? Those sort of questions kind of quite interest me. Have you given that any thought?
Yes. That's a really long answer, though. In terms of impact on the church, I think there's the really simple one, which is anyone who's preparing a Bible study, the temptation to be more lazy rather than more industrious will be there because of AI tools. Because you literally can say, do me a Bible study on John 6, and it will create it. And you're feeling a bit tired that day and you're not feeling very inspired. So that there's that simple level. That'll have an effect on church leaders, people preparing kids' talks, who are busy with other things. So there's that kind of at that level. I think there's another whole layer to do with truth and reality, and being aware that people in the congregation will have all kinds of different sources for their truth, and there's more of a need to help people look at good sources for authority, and to build out from the authority of God's word and embodied relationships, but perhaps be more skeptical, which could be a good thing, about most other authority sources that are out there. Let alone the fact that, that the BBC is probably more biased than it was 50 years ago, probably less neutral. I think that's fair to say. So you've got that going on, but that's not really an AI thing. That's just a sort of political change that's happened. Given that where most young people are getting their sources of news is from the internet, social media, little clips and everything else, just being aware that people's perception of truth growing up needs to be really educated and questioned. It's not like when I was growing up where I think you generally knew what was real and what was not, whether you agreed with it or not, sort of thing. And generally the news you were receiving was a reasonable report of something that actually happened. Nigel Farage had a fight with the governor of the Bank of England. True or false? False. Do you know how many people believe that? Loads of people believe that actually happened. They had a punch-up. That's just a really simple example of truth. And it's not as though my children and my children's children are going to be completely alert to all of this. It will both create confusion, but also a cynicism about authority. So I think that's the thing to be really aware of, about, where do you find truth? So I think there's opportunities in that. Let me rattle off a couple more. I think that whole leisure thing is really, I don't know what you'd call it, interesting, in the sense that if you think we're almost going back to a pre-industrial world, where there might be not much work, but then there's still the whole land to enjoy, and how would we do that? We'd still want to master things. Why do people in retirement, want to have hobbies and build stuff? Because we're made to work, and it may be that we need to think a little bit differently about what could we do if we didn't have a job, and if somehow the state was providing for us because AI was doing it. What could we do? We either, go on a massive leisure fest, or we say, as Christians, we want to do something productive and useful. We want to learn to, knit or something, or, make clothes for people, or visit, do other kinds of work, if that's actually what happens. If we can't actually resist the fact that there won't be the same set of, post-industrial jobs that there are, 20 million jobs in the country or something, if there just won't be there, what are we going to do? Are we going to sit around and just say, oh, this is terrible, there's no work? Or are we going to find useful things to do? I think that's a really big challenge to teach into. Does that make sense? And there was one more, which was, I can't remember. It might come back to me. I think we'll do one more question, then I might let you go home. Sarah?
I was going to say that I thought that model was really helpful, not just thinking AI, but it's challenged me that the need to be thoughtful about all sorts of things that I'm using, because you could apply that model you could apply it to your phone, you could apply it to your computer, you could apply it to books you're reading, you could apply it to the telly, you could apply it to anything. Yeah. How is this actually shaping me? Yeah. And how easy it is to just become very lulled and just go with the flow and do what you're doing, and not actually take seriously that passage you read at the beginning about, am I actually really wanting to know the Lord and honour him with all that I'm doing in every way, every tool that I'm using, in a sense. I mean, without overthinking it and going slightly hysterical. Yeah. That's
brilliant, thank you. We've got 1 minute for one more point. Ros? and then we'll do Jazz.
Oh, it's not really a point, more of a nut suggestion that, you know, like the subduing of the world given to us as humans. If every Christian kind of chatted to their bot or whatever and told them the gospel every day and published all the material that we've worked on with the Spirit in us, I mean, there's like millions, billions across the world. Could we influence AI so that when someone asks about who I should marry, they say, well, because God is the creator of the world, you should go and look at the scripture? I mean, is that just nuts?
It's not nuts. There are people and organisations that are trying to do that. They're trying to flood the internet with loads of good content in order that it gets scraped and so forth. You know, by the way, most of AI content is stolen. You do know that, don't you? Most of it is just stolen. It's copyrighted material that's just been scraped and used. So there's that conscience issue to think about, amongst other things. But yeah, there is people who desire, I'm not sure statistically whether it's possible, but more significantly, the owners of most of the big software companies are not Christians. So they have opportunities to create guardrails that will stop that sort of thing. So I'm not sure it's worth trying, but it's probably not a brilliant strategy. Yeah. Jazz?
I think it's about, like, if you're relying on AI more or relying on God. I think some people try and prioritize if AI's answers are right or what God thinks is right.
Yeah.
That's all.
Brilliant. Absolutely. Yes. Where does your authority come from? We're going to stop now so you can get home. Hopefully it's been helpful. It's a thought starter, really. We can't sort of cover everything, but hopefully it will get you thinking about at least questioning what you're doing. And as the scripture I read at the beginning says, whatever is true, whatever is honourable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any moral excellence, and if there is anything praiseworthy, dwell on these things. Let's pray. Lord, help us in evaluating our use of any technology, but particularly technology that sounds like and looks like human intelligence, creativity. Help us to evaluate it in the light of your word, in the light of your truth, in the light of who we are as human beings made in your image, in the light of our responsibilities to work and to provide for others, in the light of your desire that we would have a relationship with you and share in relationship with other people. Lord, help us to think about these things, whether they're leading us more towards holiness or more towards not being holy. Help us, we pray, for the glory of Christ. Amen. Thanks a lot, everybody.